Hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and this is Just Energy. In this episode, we are going to be joined by former National Security Investigator for the U.S. government, John DeSouza. John is a researcher and experiencer of paranormal and spiritual phenomena. Today, we'll be discussing his new book, The Extradimensionals, which presents tales of non-terrestrial visitors and their agendas on our past. So please welcome John DeSouza. John, thank you so much for coming on the show. I am so excited. I have seen your name all over like Facebook for years, and I just am honored to have you be on the show and find out that you're a New Yorker also, which means we're going to have a lot of fun just, shooting it.
Thank you, Dr. Rita. That is wonderful. The honor is all mine to be on your show. I've always loved your work, and the interviews that you do are superior, just outstanding. And so I am so honored to be here with you. Thank you so much. And yeah, New Yorkers are different. They're a different breed. It's funny. So yeah, I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Well, and you get two of them together, and then the conversation just goes.
Oh yeah.
Wherever.
Oh yeah.
It goes somewhere.
Yeah.
But this is your first time on the show, and I only do this for first-time guests, but I already know you're going to be coming back, so you do not have to do this formality ever again. But could you share with the listeners a little bit about yourself? I mean, you worked, like in secret government stuff, and now you write about like this weird alternative material.
Yes.
So what's your deal?
Yes, my name is John DeSouza. I was formerly a FBI special agent for over 20 years. I worked in the national security structure of the United States, and I worked mostly counterterrorism matters, which is a whole very intricate deal. And so now, during that time, I collected what I like to call the real X-Files. I have a lot of stories and true tales that I've collected over the years that I've researched and looked into, and I share those with people now in my books. I wrote the Investigators, which is the story of supernaturally gifted investigators and how they got that way and who they are and why you may be one of them. Now I have the Extradimensionals, which is the story of a study and story of alien visitors, who they really are, what their agendas are, and what they're doing here with us. And currently it's available on Amazon, CreateSpace, Barnes & Noble, and on my website, John Tama Books.
Okay. So on this show, we've had a number of guests that talk about UFOs and extraterrestrials and stuff, but your new book is talking about extradimensionals, and you put a whole new twist on this kind of encounter, and I don't know that my listeners or even myself know what you mean by that term.
Yeah, well, extradimensionality is a bad penny that keeps coming back to the alternative community and to all discussions on extraterrestrials over and over again. Every few years, that doctrine, it gets buried, but it always seems to come back. It's kind of an upsetting idea, upsetting and controversial. So let me just tell you what it is. It's something that I did not invent. It's connected. It's almost the same as the interdimensional hypothesis, which was proposed by great thinkers like Jacques Vallée and many others as well. And it's something that makes sense, but again, it's controversial and it can be a little upsetting, especially in the exo community as well. It's basically the idea that alien visitors are not physical, that they are not from our time and space, that they are not from the Pleiadian galaxy or any other galaxy in our time-space continuum. They are instead from other dimensions outside of our time and space, and that they transit into our time and space for periods of time, maybe most of the time not for very long, and they transit back to wherever outside of our dimensional time and space as well. Now, that may sound like a very simple idea, but if you really get into the consequences of it, it can be very upsetting to people. People, first of all, the national governments want to keep this exploration of our space. They want to keep that going, and they want to keep that growing as well. And they want to always be able to have people believe that they're looking for alien species or to make contact in our time and space with other races. And there's a lot of resources in our universe that's devoted towards that mindset. And I also call it kind of it's the mindset of ET imminency. Like at any moment they can show up on spaceships to save us, to give us a grab bag of goodies, cure for cancer, things like that. So that's why in my book, what I do is I go through a lot of the great classic tales of ET contact, some of the ones that are known by so many people, and I examine them from what my expertise is, just purely as an investigator. I'm an attorney. I've been involved in the court system as an expert for many, many years, as a prosecutorial assistant for many, many years, as a special agent as well. And so the only thing I claim expertise in is in being an investigator, which the largest part of that is revealing truth when there is a great deal of resources expended to hide the truth, to cover it up, to resist revealing it. And right now we're living in a society where a great deal of expense and resources are being expended to keep people in the dark on a lot of these topics. Mm-hmm. And ufology is hugely important to keep in this sort of retro mode of 50 years ago. And so a lot of expense is spent towards that. And so that's one of the things that my book, The Extradimensionals, addresses by going through some older stories, older tales of what really has gone on, purely from the investigative standpoint, and then some new stories as well of things that actually did happen and that show the truth about who extraterrestrials or extradimensionals really are.
So I guess I still haven't made a separation of what the difference is between an interdimensional being and an extra-dimensional being. I mean, you gave the definition of the different time-space continuum, but then how does an interdimensional being fit into this?
Oh no, those are the same. Interdimensionality is basically the same as extradimensionality. It's just a new name for a very ancient idea. It's an idea that goes back way into pre-recorded history, which is just that these alien visitors are not really here. They're really someplace else. And they are coming through. They are coming through some sort of portals. They are coming through some sort of wormholes, something that connects them from their reality into our reality. And some people call that interdimensional. Some people can call that extra dimensional. Okay. But it's all the same, and it all kind of withdraws us from this system of where we're just spinning our wheels, in my opinion. And searching for alien life in this physical reality. That's the basis of it.
Well, then let's start in the easy part. So do you think that there are extraterrestrials in this reality?
Yes. I've had contact experiences of my own, and in my years of studying the contact experiences of others, yes, I do believe that there is some form of alien visitations that are occurring here in our universe on a continual basis. And the strange thing about it is that these experiences aren't reducing, they're not leveling off, they're not tapering off, they're only increasing. And they're increasing at an alarming rate. And I feel like we're building towards some kind of crescendo. And that's why the tagline for my book is, they are coming. Are you ready? That's the tagline, because I really feel that whoever they are coming. Now, who exactly alien visitors are is a whole nother area, which will probably be my next book. But we can at least ascertain their agendas. We can ascertain what is it that they're really trying to do. And because we see their actions through the famous experiences that have gone on and that have been documented over and over again. So that's at least that part. But we need to get off of the paradigm that ufology has had us in for the last 50 years, 60 years, I would say, which is just, yes, UFOs are real. Yes, they are alien visitors. Let's argue about that. We can't keep staying on that plateau. We got to get off that plateau, and we've got to progress to who are they and what is their purpose, what is their agenda, and what can we do in response. We need to progress towards that, and it's just not happening.
Well, and we're going to come back to that, because that's a really important part, but I'm kind of stuck on your whole, who these guys are. Because I guess I believe that there are life forms in our galaxy, in our universe, whatever, that have been here and visited us and take on corporeal form. I do believe that.
That they have been?
That they have been and might still be coming, whatever. The Greys, wherever they're from. There's so much stuff out there that people say, I'm not even going to say it because it's not nice. But anyway.
No, please say it. We're from New York here. Go ahead.
No, it's really not. You'll have to listen to other interviews that I've done where I just kind of go off.
That's what I was hoping for.
No, it's not my interview. You have to interview me, and then I'll just go off. Yeah,
okay. Now
That's the secret.
Gotcha.
But I also believe that there is a whole realm of life that many people don't want to take into consideration, which are beings that take on a non-corporeal form. I am a avid believer that there are ghosts, and a believer that, somehow spirit guides and angels, and I'm just using those words, as catch-alls for levels of non-corporeal beings that we interact with in our daily lives. I've done ghost hunting. I have 2 ghosts that live in my current house. My late husband visits me. Wow. It's normal to me. And so I recognize that there is life that doesn't take on a corporeal form. And so with these beings, are they non-corporeal beings? And could they be misunderstood as being an angel or a demon that doesn't take on corporeal form?
Oh, absolutely. They can be. And it's always a good idea to stay away from religious labels like angel and demon.
Yeah.
Because we need to address these things in cosmic terms, so that our filter doesn't get reduced down to hardly anything here. So yeah, non-corporeal beings that then somehow translate us, the contactees, into whatever medium they're in. See, that's how I see it. I see that when contact is made, somehow the contactee is translated to something else. And that's the trick, really, because they're not becoming, not necessarily, and of course there's exceptions always, but they're not necessarily becoming corporeal to be with us. I think that they are instead translating the situation to make others non-corporeal like them during the experience. That's how I see it anyway. But the other thing I wanted to address that you just said is that there's no question that alien civilizations did exist in the past, because we all can see, no matter how much NASA takes these photos and airbrushes out things that are structures and makes everything look gray and dingy and blurry so that we don't see anything. I mean, all we have to do is go to the real work being done by people like Jose Escamilla and others, and we can see obviously that there was a time when these alien visitors were completely physical, because we see their work, we see their stuff on Mars, we see structures on Mars, we see structures on the moon, especially on the side that we're not supposed to see, the dark side. And we see all these things happening, and they're obvious. So there was a time in our solar system when alien visitors were completely physical, and we see all these structures that just don't have any sort of human imprint on them. For one thing, because a lot of these structures are just enormous, miles and miles and miles in size. Like there's a satellite dish on the moon, along with some kind of sonar cannon that is miles. It's like a mile in length. It's something that could not have been created by human beings and wouldn't be convenient for human beings to create. So a lot of these things, there's no doubt that there was a time when alien visitors were completely corporeal in our solar system, and they were there because they're even the monolithic structures that could not have been created by human hands all over the earth. These things are everywhere, and I document this in my book, The Extradimensionals. So many instances of these monolithic structures that it wasn't possible for humans to create. The mathematics involved, the precision involved, the technology, it just wasn't there. So there's no, but my other part of my hypothesis is that for some reason they're not able to incorporate, if that's the right word, to become physical on our plane for very long periods of time now. Whatever the conditions were back then, somehow something has changed, and so they can't just show up on the White House lawn for a long period of time and just be here with us. Now, however, they can still send technology, they can still send ships, they can still send things that have to do with technology to show up and to befuddle us. So that's part of that whole thing too.
Well, but then, what it made me think of was like Graham Hancock's work where he, utilizes ayahuasca or people that use other kind of, drugs to connect
Yes.
with the gods. So
Yes.
do you think they are actually
We call them
connecting with
herbs.
them?
Yes.
Herbs.
I like herbs.
Yeah.
Drugs are artificial, but things that come from the earth are herbs. So yes, I do believe that happens all the time, and I believe that is an extra dimensional experience, the ones that Graham Hancock talks about, and we are able to translate ourselves through contact with these herbs, like ayahuasca, that actually can transport us to an extra dimensional reality outside of our time and space. And so that's a great way. And there were some great thinkers who used to say that if the astronaut program was absolutely honest, they would, instead of taking these people and shoving them into rockets and shooting them into empty outer space, they would have them sit in a jungle and drink ayahuasca, because they'd have much more chance of contacting alien life that way than they would being shoved into a metal tube that's being shot off into space for some reason. And I thoroughly believe that. I believe that's absolutely true. Terence McKenna, he's the one who said that. That was it. Terence
and
McKenna.
actually I'm working on a book, and one day I'll actually get back to working on it, where it looks at ritual, indigenous ritual with the drumming and the chanting and the dancing as a vehicle to take us to that place where other cultures use things like peyote and ayahuasca to take them to that place, which I think is interesting because it's global. All of those cultures
Hmm.
utilize techniques to connect them with the gods and to heal themselves and to do these things. So,
Yes, and that's trance and self-hypnotism. That's what those. I mean, at least that's what we would call those things. Using the drum trance, and the drums for that purpose.
but it
So,
takes them to an ecstatic state,
right, right.
so,
Yeah, I
so
think they
it's
need.
more than trance to me.
Yes, they need the herbs for that, though, don't they? They need the herbs as well for
Apparently
that.
not.
Really, just with
Apparently
drumming.
not. Well, not
Wow.
just with the drumming, it's the drumming and the chanting and the dancing. It's the dancers, like the whirling dervishes, they use that
Mm.
as a means to get to an ecstatic state.
Yes, and you have to be a shaman who is so practiced with that
Yes.
the level of expertise involved is just off the charts to be
Hmm.
able to do that to yourself. That's like the Buddhist monks who study these things for 20, 30 years to be able to achieve these levels of a nirvana type state that they achieve, and that's very hard to do. For us in the West, we tend to need things like meditation, uh, hypnosis, or the herbs, the assistance of herbs, which themselves are considered kind of like minor tribal gods. Each of these herbs that help us to achieve extra dimensional quality as well. So
Hmm.
it just depends. It just
Hmm.
depends. I'm sure that you've been in with the ayahuasca before, Dr. Rita, so you may know about these things.
Well, I mean, I haven't ever participated in it personally, but I've read up on it. Um,
Good.
So, all right, I'm going to go back to what we were talking about a little bit before about these beings, because one of the questions, and you're a good person to ask this question because you might actually have an answer for me. So, one of the things that, when I'm doing work as a medical intuitive or psychic readings or whatever, I talk about my peanut gallery, and I have like these 3 or 4 peeps. I don't know their names. I
Your
don't care
process.
what their names are. Yeah, they're definitely my posse. I call them the peanut gallery. If I ask them a question, they don't say anything. But if I'm talking to someone, they're like total backseat drivers, and they're like, "Well, don't tell them that." Blah 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 blah. It's like we have a love-hate relationship. So, how would you classify them? I mean, I know they're there because they talked to me in this year and only
Mm.
this year. So would you say that these were potentially interdimensional beings? You know, you know, I mean, I guess the bigger question is how do ghosts fit into this whole thing and this whole what I believe realm of non-corporeal beings, would they also fall into this interdimensional category?
I think they do, and it's a spectrum. It's sort of like a spectrum of beings and things. One of the interesting phenomena, it's sort of like an epiphenomena that radiates out of the original, which is that one of the things that we found, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is that when there is an area, a cluster of intense UFO activity or alien contact activity in a certain community, or an area of a community, people will actually be, because then the interviews happen and people come and interview the contactees and speak to them, and what else was going on in your area. In people, especially in MUFON, we do this where you ask a wide range of questions to the people and you find out what else was going on in your area. Like the physical questions, like, was there a lot of Air Force activity that was going on in this area? Were you seeing a lot of jets before the alien contact incident happened? And one of the strange things that has been documented again and again is that with these clusters of contactees who have alien visitor experiences, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, they will also in the same range of time experience ghost experiences or crypto creature experiences. in the same range of time, within the same week or 2 weeks that the alien contact visitor experiences happen. But here's the weird thing. The other experiences, like ghost or spirit experiences, or the crypto creature experiences that also go on, will be completely unconnected to the UFO experience. And I'll give you an example. We have some witnesses that will, and this is documented in my book, The Extradimensionals, will have witnesses that had their alien visitor experience. They had interchange with the alien visitors. They had some kind of contact experience, but they were not abducted. They're still there. And within a couple of days, they'll come out to their kitchen at night. Let's say it's close, really late at night. For some reason, they couldn't sleep, and it's 3 a.m. They come out to their kitchen, and their dead uncle that passed away will be out there in the kitchen wanting to speak with them and give them a message, a very important message. And usually the message has something to do with, take care of your family, watch out for this one, that one, and something positive. And the witness will then ask the spirit of the dead relatives that's there, so why are you here now, of all times, appearing now? Does it have anything to do with the alien contact that we had recently? And invariably, the spirit will always say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what alien visitor means or what it is. And so that was a shocking thing, because and in some instances, it was like the same day that they had the alien contact experience, and dead relatives will show up. So that it just is terribly obvious that that's not a coincidence. A dead relative you haven't heard or seen from 30 years suddenly shows up in non-corporeal form on the day that you have alien contact experience. So that's not a coincidence. It's just not.
But see, that makes totally sense to me.
Yeah. And yet we have documented cases again and again where the spirit that appears as a result of the UFO experience or alien contact experience has no idea what the person is talking about, has no idea what an alien visitor is or what a UFO is, and they just don't know what the person is talking about. So it leads to that sort of what do you call that? The idea of amorphogenic energy sites, where a portal opens up and there is more than a single phenomena that shows up through this portal. And it makes sense that once something interdimensional passes through, more things can pass through. And sometimes they just have no idea of why this happens or when or what the reasoning is behind it. So yeah, I think what you're saying has always is a part of the extra-dimensional hypothesis, is that, yeah, a lot of these different phenomena use the same portals, the same sites to come through. And a lot of times they have nothing in common with each other, except that they are extra-dimensional in nature or interdimensional, however you want to think of it. Yeah.
But it makes sense on some levels if they're having this interdimensional experience that their psychicness would open up.
Yes,
I sit there and talk about their spirits around all the time. And grandma might come visit you. I mean, people freak out. I get I have this attached entity. I have these ghosts in my house. And I'm like, well, do you know it's not grandma? Do you know it's not your brother that passed away? I mean, how do you know it's something evil? It might be a family member that's coming to visit. And it just makes me wonder if their awareness is heightened and now they're seeing Uncle Fred sitting at the kitchen table drinking a cup of coffee.
Right. One of the things I always recommend to people in my books is that there are a lot of trickster entities, and that if they are confronted with a spirit that claims to be a relative of yours, you should always ask the entity some sort of intimate questions that only that relative would know. that no one else would know. Because a lot of times that will expose a trickster sort of spirit or trickster entity that is just imitating the form of that particular relative. Because these things are, and this is part of the extra-dimensional hypothesis, these things are desperate for connection with us. And the reasons why are a whole thing unto themselves, but they are desperate for a connection to us because they need our consciousness, they need our attention, they need our desire, our wonder, our interest, and that helps them to incorporate. To come to our physicality, to gain a greater reality for themselves. And so that's why they need that connection. And so a large portion of these spirits that are pretending to be your relatives tend not to be. And so people need to reveal that real quick and expose that fast.
I guess it's good that I'm just very kinesthetic because I can just feel them, and feel what they're like, and you can tell by
Kinesthetic.
their feeling.
I like kinesthetic, but I have to get to a dictionary, okay, so that I can reveal the meaning on that one.
Like right this second?
No, you're my dictionary.
Oh, okay. Yeah, touchy-feely,
Oh, okay, and that helps your spiritual awareness as far as things.
Well, I mean, it allows me to tap into people's emotional energy. That's John DeSouza. His book is The Extradimensionals. His webpage is johntamabooks.com. And thank you for watching this portion of our interview with John. If you're enjoying today's programming, please click on the button below and subscribe to our channel. If you want to hear this interview in its entirety, become a Just Energy Radio insider at justenergyradio.com and access full shows commercial-free and gain access to our over 10 years of show archives. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So until next time, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy. Be blessed.